Because people latch on to good energy, just like people latch on to bad energy, right?
Yeah.
It's like you can take a situation, and if it turns down a dark road, you can find a million more reasons to make it more darker.
Yes.
But if you turn down the light road, everything is just bright, and
Right.
you're just working on making it better all the time.
Hey, for some time now, I thought it would be very interesting to put some videos together that are quite different from what's out there in social media right now. Over the past couple years, I grew very tired of seeing some people automatically gain the respect of many people simply because they're on TV or in a movie, rather than because of their actions or their achievements or what they stood for. And I feel like there's a lot of false heroes out there who are celebrated simply because they have a platform. So in contrast, I believe there are many more well-deserving people right in our backyard that never have such a platform to kind of get their own personal inspirational message out there. So they might not be your traditional celebrity, but they're living their lives in a way that inspires people around them. And Julie Piazza is a great example of what I'm talking about. I find what she is doing with her business, Chippy White Table, to be extremely interesting. Simply put, when a bride wants to level up her wedding day, she calls Chippy White Table. Julie and her team have basically taken this business from an idea to a vibrant Main Street powerhouse. And primarily, they're focused on working with brides. And then Chippy White Table helps them to make their most important day of their life become extraordinary. Their attention to detail, the custom decor, usually helps the brides dial up their dream wedding and create a vibe that all the guests get excited about. And I'm going to ask her a whole bunch of questions here today about how she got this thing off the ground, what she has going on these days, and maybe some things that she has planned for the future too. And hopefully she'll share with us a little bit more about her personal side so we can understand what drives her passion and energy for life. So join me now for a chance to better understand what makes Julie so focused and how she tries best to balance all of it. One of the things I usually like to talk about is the silly stuff, which is, so where did you grow up? Where did you go to high school?
Here, yeah.
Tunkhannock.
Born and raised, yeah.
Okay.
So my grandmother and my mother, yeah, we all went to Tunkhannock, so.
Oh, it's a whole tiger blood flowing through it.
I guess.
So when you were doing all that, so you're finishing your graduation in Tunkhannock.
Mm-hmm.
What were you thinking you'd go off and do?
So I really wanted to do journalism at first. I was
Really?
like, yeah, I was really,
wasn't
I had a
expecting
great teacher in high school. Her name was Miss T, Miss Travel Piece. I forget what her name is now because she's now married. But
Okay.
she was just such an awesome teacher. She just like really influenced me and inspired me. And she taught the journalism class in the high school. So I'd spend a lot of time in her classroom just like designing things, working on the computer. And I really liked the idea of like layouts and making things look nice, which is
Yeah.
kind of tying into what I do
Sure.
now, just making things look pretty. So yeah, I after high school, I went to Penn State Wilkes-Barre for 2 years for journalism.
And so you're kind of faded school?
Kind of faded, like not school altogether, but kind of was like, maybe I want to do something else. I was then working at the YMCA as a swim teacher. So I was on the swim team all through school, like middle school and high school. So I had an interest in swimming and I loved being at the pool and like loved teaching swimming and, loved watching other people learn to swim, like kids especially. So I was a swim teacher at the YMCA. And then again, I was influenced by another swim teacher there. And she said, "You're such a great teacher. You should go to school for, elementary ed and teaching."
Okay.
And I was like, that kind of like a light bulb went off. And I was like, I do love this. I love being around the kids. I love watching them learn, like not even just swimming, but in general,
Yeah.
So I changed my major to elementary ed, but Penn State Wilkes-Barre didn't offer that. So I had to switch schools. So I had made a friend at Penn State Wilkes-Barre who was also interested in elementary ed. And she said, "Why don't we go to Westchester together? It's a good school. It's not far from home. We can come home on the weekends if we want to." She was down there in Kingston. Her family was from there. So I was like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. So away we went to Westchester. Moved
Shift
to Westchester.
to the next chapter in your life. Yeah.
Yep. So I was at Westchester for like a year and a half doing elementary ed classes. I just was like fading from school. I don't know. I just had this like no ambition to finish it for some reason.
Gotcha.
So I just decided after one semester, like I was just going to move home and just be done and try to figure out something at home. My mom really wanted me to finish, of course, and get a degree. So she signed me up for Keystone.
Nice.
Said, you can live at home, but go to Keystone.
Yeah.
I went to one class. Then I was done.
Oh.
My poor mom. I feel bad. She worked hard to help me
funny.
get in, and
Well, we still have the bachelor's dangling out there, but we don't have that yet, right?
No.
But yet it didn't stop you.
No.
That's what I think is really cool.
Yeah.
Especially these days, right? I mean, I just,
Yeah.
both my kids are signed up and enrolling in Penn State, ironically. And, I think it's important. And I think if you do it the right way and you know what you're going for and you follow the right steps, there's ways to be successful with it. But there's so many other ways to go in different directions, especially these days.
I would never discourage anyone from going to college or finishing college. I think that it's amazing and wonderful, and it's a different experience for everyone.
Yeah.
It just, for some reason, that wasn't the way my path went,
Yeah.
So I did end up moving home, went to Keystone for a day, dropped out of Keystone, just was living at home, working at the Viewmont Mall in a retail store.
Okay.
Again, doing like the displays and things like that, which I really enjoyed. So I was content.
Yeah.
I was content doing that my early 20s. And then I had a baby.
Okay.
Yeah.
That changes
so,
things.
Game changer real quick. Yeah. When I was 22. So I was pretty young,
Yeah.
and still trying to figure out life.
Yeah.
So that kind of steered my life in a whole nother direction, just becoming a mom, young and unexpectedly. So had a little apartment with my then boyfriend, in town.
By the way, it throws you for a loop, and you're trying to figure out life when you're 20 something.
Yeah.
I'm 51 now.
Yeah.
I don't know if I figured it out.
Right. We never
just
figured
a
out.
Newsflash.
Yeah. And
It's
you
just a
don't stop
constant
learning
battle.
till the day they put you in the ground, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
You just keep going.
So,
I had
so you
a little
baby?
boy,
Yeah.
Charlie. Yep.
Cool.
He's 13 now, which is crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know. 13 going on 18.
Is he Chuck now, or still go by Charlie?
Yeah, sometimes people call him Chuck or Chucksters, or
Yeah.
he has all sorts of different silly nicknames.
Oh,
yeah.
sure, he'll love hearing that.
Yeah. So yeah, I just that was the path then I was on, just working in retail and raising a baby. So fortunate to have my family around.
So it sounds like they were a good backbone for
Oh
you.
yeah. I don't know what I would have done without like my mom and dad and my grandmother, and Charlie has 6 grandparents because of step parents and everything.
okay.
So he was, and they're all here in Tunkhannock.
that's nice.
So he was surrounded by them all the time.
Yeah.
So
That's fantastic. So how
Yeah.
did you go from that to starting a business?
yeah, so just fast forward quick at the retail
Take
store.
your own time.
Yeah.
I'm just
I
wondering
could just
what's in
ramble
between
about,
there.
about
No,
this.
I love it.
Yeah, so I met my now husband at the store that I was working with at the mall.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's just
Was he a customer or was he working there with
He
you?
got hired as seasonal help,
Okay.
and I was a manager at that store. There was another manager at that store as well, and she hired him. And when she hired him, I was like, I don't really like him. I think he seems arrogant. I don't know why. I just had this like preconceived like I don't know,
That's funny.
like way I thought about him, I guess.
He wore on you, I guess.
Yeah, and then we started working together because I did all the displays, which in retail you do overnight. So we did a lot of overnight shifts with an overnight team, and he was on that team.
Okay.
And you have to work at a fast pace because you have to get it done by the time the store opens
Sure.
the next day. So you're on a timeline. And he was so willing to just do whatever was asked, even though this was just a part-time job for him. He was fresh out of Penn State. He went to Penn State.
Yep, okay.
Just came home, to find a job, and ended up just grabbing this part-time job, to get through. And yeah, we just really clicked.
Yeah.
Really clicked. Yeah.
This is I always say this at work. There's a really fine line between confidence and arrogance.
And
so maybe he was confident, but you perceived it as arrogant.
That's exactly what it was, I think. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head with that. Because
Well, good for him then.
Yeah.
And you, I guess.
Yeah, so we just really clicked, and I was still a single mom. And I wasn't looking for a relationship because I was just kind of doing my own thing and figuring out life. But yeah, so
That's usually when it happens.
It's always when it
When
happens,
you're not
right?
looking for it.
Or when you don't expect it. So yeah, met him, and we got married. And after my wedding, that's kind of when it all came full circle. My mom had the genius idea of starting a rental company.
So that's interesting. When you got married, did you do any of the stuff with your own wedding that you're doing today with
Oh yeah,
with other
we
people?
still have rental pieces from my wedding,
Really?
like that we use and rent out. Yeah, like
Okay.
it'll be 7 years in August.
Where was your wedding?
At Lake Harry.
Okay.
My family has a lake cottage there. So my parents got married there. My aunt and uncle got married there. When Mark and I, my husband, got engaged, my uncle, who lives in the house now, said, "You guys got to get married at the lake." You know,
Tradition.
like, yes, tradition. Keep the tradition going. So we're like, yes, we don't want to pay for a venue. That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
So we wanted it to be really laid back. You know, Charlie was then 6 years old at the time. So we just wanted a laid back, backyard vibe. Yeah, got married on the dock. My dad paddled me in a canoe to the dock for the ceremony. Then
That's awesome.
everyone helped me out of the boat, and my dad performed the ceremony because he's a pastor. So he was the MVP of the wedding for sure.
No, you can't outshine the bride.
Yeah, but he did a lot.
Runner up.
Yeah. So yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
So, wow. So, in that, did you think you started that trend? I mean, because it's becoming trendy now, right? Not to
Yeah.
have giant venues, but I still see you do a lot of those, right? But you
Yeah.
also do some right out of your own shop.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
had one on Friday. Yeah. A couple from Connecticut. Yeah.
How does a couple from Connecticut find
Yeah.
your store in
The
Tunkhannock?
World Wide Web is an amazing place.
No one calls it that. But
I love saying that because I think it's funny.
on the line.
Yeah.
What was that? I can't remember the guy's name. Vince Vaughn.
Oh yeah.
The Google, where they're interns at Google, and he keeps saying on the line.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. So your mom had the idea after your wedding.
Yeah,
Said,
'cause
hey,
we
you
had-
should do it. Moms can come up with really cool ideas.
Yeah,
Dads too sometimes.
Mom, she's a genius. So yeah, we had collected all this stuff for my wedding, like decor and furniture and table runners and like all the stuff that you need to decorate a wedding. Basically,
Right.
my mom and I love yard sales and going to flea markets and estate sales and things like that. And so we just all summer shopped for fun things for the wedding. We set up a display table in her dining room and would like set different things up and play around with what we wanted it to look like. So we collected everything ourselves. And that's kind of how our collection started. Well,
And
it
then-
is how our collection started,
And
yeah.
how did you get that word out to
When
people?
we started the business.
Yeah.
So when it became real and we're really doing this, we entered the Shark Tank contest.
That was a
At the local one in Tunkhannock.
chamber put on.
The chamber put on,
Yep.
yeah, which was such a great, amazing thing. And the panel of judges was all local business owners, like big business owners in Tunkhannock, which
Yep.
was really cool. So we entered the contest, and they allowed anyone to enter. You had to enter like a business plan, and we did that, thinking hopefully we'll get picked. They were only going to pick 15 people. We went over to the Comfort Inn, across the bridge to find out if we had been picked in the top 15. And we did. We got picked, and we're like, oh my gosh, we got picked. That's amazing. We're in the top 15. This is really cool. And then we got the opportunity to perform our business plan and a little demonstration on stage at the Dietrich Theater for the contest.
Yeah.
And we ended up winning the whole thing, which was...
Do you remember me being there? The
Were
MC?
you a judge?
I was the
Oh,
MC.
you were. That's right. You did tell me that. Yeah,
Yes.
that's amazing. Oh, I totally forgot
Apparently,
that.
I was super memorable. Yeah, I remember that night quite a bit about that night. I thought there were a good number of impressive people there. But
They were awesome. Yeah.
my job was basically in between each of you getting up and doing your demo.
Yeah.
I was kind of fill-in time, and I would usually ask the judges, which were all successful entrepreneur business owners in our area, and they had a lot of experience, right, and a lot of
Yeah.
success there on stage. And I would just ask them questions while you guys were changing and setting up, and I think you were one of the last people to go up.
Yeah, I think we were.
And I remember you saying, I just need a minute or two. And I don't even think it was that long, but I remember like just asking some random question and then turning around and seeing you just took like a table and two chairs. And I turned around and I was like blown away. Like
That's awesome.
within such a short time, you had made it look beautiful. And I thought, I didn't know what to say. I remember literally stuttering and saying something sarcastic, and then you kind of shot back at me and put me in my place, which you should have.
That's
But
funny.
I was really happy to see the judges, come down in your favor that night, because
Yeah.
I'll tell you, the one thing that really stood out to me was the two things was your actual presentation of what you do. But what really gets me, because I'm a family guy and a family business, and I'm just entrepreneurial, small business guy through and through, was your story
Yeah.
And you told it with passion. You told it, you could tell you were nervous but excited and just filled with boundless energy, and you're trying to hold it back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it wasn't a fearful energy. It was just pure like, when I'm done here, I got a million things to do after this.
I got to keep going.
But what really got me was when your mom was in the audience too, and I remember your grandmother was there, and down near the front row or in the front row, and I remember you talking about them being your inspiration and helping you put this together.
Yeah.
And then I remember you got a little emotional, and I remember looking down at them, and their faces were beaming.
Yeah.
And I was like,
that's going to make me emotional right now.
Oh, you don't have to. But I remember thinking to myself, like, this is a pretty special moment right here.
Yeah.
It's the things you'll always remember in your life. And
for sure.
It had nothing to do with me, but I still remember it.
You felt it. You felt that whole energy around it. Yeah. And I feel like that's even to this day, Chippy White Table has that energy around it.
Yeah. What I do for a financial planner. So our office is all about sitting with families and going through things. And there's a lot of times where, hey, the money says, the math says you should do this or this. But you can just see in their eyes. They can't do that. There's something there that they're not talking about or something. Or there's a reason why they're going this way and they really don't care about the money. And you can't get in front of people.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need to grab them by the shoulders and say, this is really a risky thing.
Yeah.
But if they still understand that and they want to go for it, which is what you did, what if you didn't take that risk?
I know. I think about that sometimes because I was really nervous about the whole thing, and my mom was kind of the backbone of it, and I was still working full time. So between meeting my husband and getting married, I switched jobs to working at Creekside Gardens for Kevin and Sherry Kukuchka. Yeah. And I worked there for about 5 years. It was amazing, wonderful job. Free plant education every day, learning about plants. I worked in the butterfly house as a tour guide. Yeah. So just loved that job through and through. It was a great experience of my life. And Kevin and Sherry are great people. But where was I going with this?
Why you took a risk? You decided to take that risk.
So I was working there still full time, loving that job. So in the back of my mind, I'm like, what is happening? Am I starting a business? Am I doing this full force, or is this just going to be a side gig? Do I know what I'm talking about? Have you heard of the imposter syndrome that people get?
Yes, absolutely.
Kind of had a little bit of that. Am I for real? Are people going to buy into this? What am I going to do about my full-time job? I'm committed there. There was a lot of things that I think held me back from it, but I just knew that I had to do it. I knew in my heart that I just had to go for this because I think my number one reason in my mind was that my mom and I are never going to get a chance to do something like this together again. She's only getting older, and she also has Parkinson's disease. So I knew her health wasn't going to be getting better over the years. Thankfully, right now, she's doing amazing. Yeah. She's such a strong person.
I noticed that you put that in your, was it your Instagram or Facebook post? You put a picture of you and your mom, and you mentioned that, she's diagnosed, she's doing really well, but, you know.
People have been following along with her journey when we first, announced it. So people appreciate the check-in from us, I think, Yeah,
so this is where I get a little weird, right? Yeah. So I always admit this before I'm sitting and talking to somebody, I try to find out a little bit about you, whatever you're putting out there socially, right? So one of the things that stood out to me on your Instagram account was, and this doesn't surprise me, but maybe it does you, is that you have an insane amount of beautiful pictures out there of things that you've done for people.
Yeah.
But some of the ones that got the most comments and the most likes are the ones with you and your team, your sister, your mom, your grandmother, your grandmother's 90th. Yeah. I think you had a picture of a 90th birthday. They like all these comments. I think people
like a story.
They like the story. They like to buy and be part of, your story becomes their story.
Thing. Yes, exactly. They're invested, because even from day one, when we had our original showroom above my grandmother's furniture store, Greenwoods, so she let us use a little apartment space, which ironically was an apartment that my mom lived in her 30s, so or younger, but my grandmother let us use this space because it was vacant, and we would be pulling out some of my grandmother's old vintage things to use. She had a vintage velvet lounge settee, like a piece of
Yeah.
furniture. And we were pulling that out and posting pictures of grandma like sitting on her little lounge, and people just love that. They love that, to follow along with that. And I think to see that my mom and grandma are still like involved,
Yeah.
So it's cool. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool.
So when you get, well, how do we go from, that initial idea? I don't want to jump in front of you.
No, you're good.
How do we go from that initial idea where you're saying to Creekside, like, hey, it's been great, I've enjoyed it, but I'm going to really commit 100% to this.
That was one of the hardest things in my life.
I'm sure.
Yeah, it was. Because I loved them so much. My heart was there. I loved everything about working there. And I was starting Chippy at the same time as like them going into their winter season, which is quieter. So it was easier transition in that way, that I wasn't getting ready to leave them in the spring when, that's their high time. Yeah, crazy time. So the timing was right. I started asking for like reduced hours because I was working more for my own business. And
Sure.
one day Sherry just, her and I were very close, and she said, Julie, are you starting your own business? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, I think it's time that you just go do what you need to do.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Because she could have went the other way, right?
Yeah.
That's great.
So they were supportive and kind. And I mean, we were both like crying about it, because we worked together for 5 years.
Yeah.
I had become part of the family, I felt like. So yeah, she just kind of like let me go.
And you still do some stuff. Like, then I see some things on your site that you've done at Creekside.
Yeah, we've done some setups there, setups for pictures, like for photos and stuff.
Yeah, okay.
And now they have a beautiful outdoor pavilion
Yeah.
that they're offering events. So I'm sure we'll be doing some decorating over there for that too. Yeah.
That's neat.
So,
I think that's really supportive, especially if it's success, because they're successful. I believe their business has really grown. They seem to run it really well. I don't know them real personally well, but it's great to see local businesses encouraging other, because you just, even yesterday you had your sidewalk sale, right? And I was just telling you before we started rolling that my wife and I were walking down to go get breakfast, and I'm like, what are all these people on the sidewalk for?
I know, causing a commotion in town.
But what I was noticing when I came back out was folks were visiting your store, and then they were meandering across the street to a couple other stores, and I said Mercantile was open, and so they were going in there, and so like you thrive off of each other, I think.
Yeah,
right?
that's what I love. I love to bring people to Tunkhannock.
I hope that's cool, because I noticed you had stuff leaning against some of your neighbors' stores to try to.
Yeah. At one point, I think Jerry from Twigs came out and was like, "Are you guys wrapping up soon? Because I got to open." I was like, "Yeah, we'll move stuff down, But purposely tried to do it when our neighbors weren't open, so they weren't in their way of their traffic. But
that's when you can tell it's viral and successful. On a Sunday morning, and there's just like an insane number of people on our
those
street.
Chippy fans.
Yeah, and Chippy Chicks, I've learned a new term.
Yeah, the Chippy Chicks. We've coined that, our names,
You got to trademark that.
Yeah, it's funny.
So, all right, so and was that where you started right out of the gates, was right there on Main Street in Tunkhannock?
We started above Greenwood's Furniture Store. That's where our first showroom was. Yeah,
Okay.
And people had to walk up these like dark, creaky steps, because like super old building in Tunkhannock, not well lit, probably like crumbling in some spots.
Yeah, people.
But we tried to, here's another term, chipify it the best we could, with just like string lights and lanterns and rugs and things to kind of cover up the duskiness of that old building.
Let's make them know that they're going somewhere good.
Yeah, like you're not walking into a creepy hallway that goes nowhere. Like,
I saw this in a movie.
I still think about those brides who booked with us up in that spot. I'm like, wow, they must have really just believed in us, because it wasn't. There was nothing fancy about it. Nothing. Old plaster, cracked walls, like dirty gray carpet. But we just made it the best that we could with what we had. Just trying not to spend a lot of money and do things low key, and but people loved it. People loved it up there.
And so you got to a point up there where you said, hey, we need to go to a different location.
We were busting out the seams with inventory. So we were not only using that as a showroom space, but keeping all of our inventory up there and in my parents' garage in town.
Oosh. So
we were bringing sofas at the end of a long weekend up a flight of steps in like 90-degree heat. There's no air up there or heat,
When you say we, who's we?
My dad and I.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to give your dad a shout out there.
Sorry, Dad. That first summer, and I remember carrying a sofa up those steps with him and saying to him, like, I'm not doing this next year. We got to find a spot that's on the street level because I can't do this. I'm all about hard work, but that was like working harder, not smarter, you know. So I was sitting up in my showroom, that showroom one day, and Heather Williams, who owned Kaleidoscope there next to Twigs, which is now our showroom, called me out of the blue and said that she was closing her shop. She had a renter lined up. They fell through, and she was looking for someone to rent that space. And Perfect. She said, I'd rather it be a small business than like a lawyer or, you know, insurance company.
Right. Or financial guys.
And I heard that you guys, yeah.
Come on.
No.
Show's over.
Yeah. But yeah, so I was like, well, this is perfect timing because we need to move out, and I think we can afford rent. You know, we're at the point where we were like making some money, and I think we can afford renting a place. So we literally ran down the steps, up the street to her shop, took measurements, and basically got the key from her that day.
So full disclosure, I think you know this, Dan and Heather are very good friends of ours, my wife and I. Yeah. And when I picture you doing that, and I know how they put all that shop together with all the decor, and I'm thinking, especially like I'm a fan of the ceiling.
Oh yeah, everyone loves that ceiling.
I have the same ceiling. In my house. Because Dan told me how he did that. I'm like, oh, I love that, and I can picture you walking in there going, "This is perfect. Yeah, it's a perfect fit."
Yeah.
We have Heather probably going, "Oh, it's a perfect time."
Yes, like thank goodness, you know. So we were so thrilled. We're like, this is it. This space and what they created, like in that building with the ceiling and the floors and the old wall made of, or the doors made of, the wall made of old doors. Yeah. It was just fit the white brick wall. It just fit our aesthetic to a T. Yeah. So thank you, Dan and Heather.
Come on, don't give it. He has a big enough head.
Yeah. So, and they were excited that we were a new small business, and I think they were excited to see what we were going to do. We ended up buying some big furniture pieces off of them too for displays, and it was perfect timing. Like, just the stars aligned, you know, like couldn't plan that.
Yeah. I think I told you that I felt destined that we'd do a podcast together because when we walked into Dan and Heather's, when it was her stop in Kaleidoscope, it was, my wife's like looking at all the stuff, and she goes, I really like this table. And it was a Chippy White table.
That table, that we have.
Yeah, we have it. That's my wife's.
And you have it at home. Yeah, I love that.
It's a Chippy White table desk.
Yeah.
Literally. So I've never heard that term until we bought that, and that's a big old heavy table.
Yeah, it is.
But anyway.
Yeah.
So there you are. You're doing that, and at this point in your process, right? You're not doing anything online.
No, so we had a website that my sister set up for us. My sister lives in Portland, Oregon, and she's a graphic designer, and she's really talented. She doesn't do really website design necessarily. She's more like logo and custom things, not a website builder, but she was a freelancer at the time, and she said, I'll set a website up for you guys. You know, let's just get Squarespace. It's like what we use. You know, it's a common website program. So she set that up so that we could post the pictures of all of our inventory on the site and our story. We had our story on there, of course, you know, how it all started. So that was important.
You should.
So that's basically how we started online, was just having a plain old website. Yeah. With pictures that we took ourselves.
And you must have, so what's your your primary market? And it may have changed from where you started, right? But it was mostly weddings and events? Is it still that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So it's still weddings and events, probably 95% weddings, I'd say. We do other events as well, but it is mostly weddings. So our target audience are brides, basically. Okay. Like between 18 and 30.
Okay.
Yeah. So then we started doing other things as far as using our showroom for photography studio and things like that. So
that's hugely popular.
Yeah.
You guys switch up the environment so often, and
people love it.
I know.
Every year I'm like, oh, people are probably so sick of taking pictures in front of the door wall at Chippy, but no, they're not. They keep coming back, but we do design it differently, so it's like a different look each year. People love it.
There's no other place really to
do it inside. I mean, for Christmas photos, everybody wants a Christmas card photo, and if it doesn't work out, too cold or snowy or whatever, to go to the Christmas tree farm or outside, Chippy is there. Yeah. So it's good. Yeah. People love that. We've had people come back every year since we've started it.
Have you had, sorry, you might not want to talk about this. Have you had just crazy bad luck at one? I mean, there's got to be a wedding, like not necessarily your fault, or like just weather.
Just weather.
Yeah. I'm assuming weather's got to be a big issue.
Yeah. So wind is my enemy. That's what I will say for outdoor weddings. I will take like snow, sleet, rain, anything over wind, because you're outside in the elements already, and then you add wind to it and everything's just blowing all over the place. So yeah, we had one a couple years ago that the wind was so bad and things just wouldn't stay on the tables, centerpieces. And we had got buckets and went down to this like quarry that was near the site of the wedding, and like hacked buckets of rock and stone, and had to like use them to like weight things down like all over. That was intense. Yeah, that was an intense one.
Oh my gosh.
And then the first weekend of May this year was that torrential downpour all day on Saturday.
Yeah.
So we again, of course, that weekend we had a wedding under a tent, 6 inches of water standing in the tent. Yeah.
You're kidding me.
Like an hour before the wedding. Yeah, that was crazy. We were the only ones there. It was on someone's property, so luckily we were able to call to where they were getting ready and everything and say, like, this is like bad. We were like, it's fine, but it's really bad. Everything's gonna be great, but this is a problem.
How do you solve that? Do you delay that?
So we called the groom or the bride and the groom, who luckily we knew. We had worked with them before. She's a local photographer.
I'm like stressed out as you tell me the story.
And we're like, we called them and just said, you guys, everything's gonna be fine, but you need to wear your mud boots for the ceremony. Like, they were gonna get married outside. Of course, it's pouring rain, couldn't do that. So we set the ceremony up in the tent. The arbor is literally 6 inches underwater. Yeah. So it's just like, you guys luckily they were cool, down to earth country people. They all had their muck duck boots with them anyway, and they're like their trucks, So they all put on their muck boots and came down and stood in the water and got married. But one of them did end up bringing down like a pump and started pumping out water. And then we brought in bales of hay and put bales of hay everywhere over the mud. It was the muddiest but most fun wedding ever.
Say, yeah. I had really yucky weather on my wedding.
Did you?
And, not super bad, but it's been a great marriage. Mm-hmm. But the wedding day, sometimes I think there's a thing that says
they say that. If it rains on your wedding day.
So maybe these people would marry for life.
Yeah, I mean.
But that's pretty.
The neat thing about
be nimble, I guess.
Yeah, the neat thing about bad weather on a wedding day is that I always tell the bride, I'm like, if it rains, like, you are the sunshine. If you are happy and you are smiling and you just put that face on, whether you have to fake it till you make it or not, if you walk in, you're like, everything's fine. Everyone's going to be at ease. And that's what she did. The bride came down and she's like, it's all good, and was smiling. They put on music. The party was pumping before the wedding even started. So, and everyone kind of just like literally let their hair down, put on their boots, like let all expectations go, and it was just a really fun time. So
you should have a boxers and brief kind of wedding.
Yeah, that's basically what was happening. So yeah, it's cool. I think that whether if you have a good attitude about it, it can be a lot of fun and a good memory.
Yeah.
So
what kind of challenges do you face other than weather, right? Mm-hmm. Do you consider yourself? Let me back up. Do you consider yourself an artist, or like an entrepreneur or a businesswoman?
I think I consider myself like a creator. I like to create experiences, Okay. I mean, I think I am artistic in a way, but I don't consider myself an artist. But I like to create things, if that makes sense.
So when are you sitting in our grayish black man cave like studio?
Yeah.
Are you sitting here going, oh my gosh, I would do so many
Let's get some string lights up in here. Yeah.
I could use some.
Can we get a flower vase on the table, please, Bob?
You don't like this really bad?
Oh, I like your bobblehead. Custom bobblehead.
I had this great idea to. I was gonna, every time I had a guest on, I was gonna get a bobblehead.
Yeah.
I was gonna get one for you, and then one I would keep and I'd put on shelves and stuff.
Oh, that's fun.
But number one, they're stupid expensive.
I bet.
Number two, this isn't really that. I have like a George Costanza hairpiece on.
Right.
I wish my hair was that full.
Right. Aww.
So I'm like, that's just good.
You're like, we don't need to have that expense. That's okay. Yeah.
We'll go a different route.
Yeah.
But, so like when you sit in I mean, I'm super proud of this, but it is kind of a minimalist kind of studio. Right?
I appreciate the vibe. I appreciate the vibe, but yeah.
Just so we can focus on our conversation.
Yes, that's true. But no, I definitely, if I am in a space where I'm like, oh, this could be done, my mind's always going there.
Yeah. Sure.
Oh, always. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or like if I go to another wedding that we didn't decorate, I'm like, oh, they could have done that. No, that makes me sound snobby, but I'm always thinking of ways to make spaces better.
Do you often sit somewhere and go, that's really cool, I'm going to use that?
Oh yeah, 100%. I think I think a lot of inspiration for decorating came from Creekside Gardens and working at the mall at the retail store and doing displays in both those places.
Yeah,
you know, you just maybe even subconsciously stash ideas away.
Yeah.
So
as a creator,
mm-hmm.
right? Would you say that? Do you view yourself as an entrepreneur at all?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%.
Do you like the business side of it, or do you like the creative
No,
side?
I hate the business side of it. Just let me create things and come up with ideas. Yeah. So, no, the business side of it is definitely not, I shouldn't say hate. I don't hate anything, but I don't enjoy it nearly as much as I do creating and talking with people and that part. So, yeah, I had to learn the business part, which was that was a hurdle for me.
Yeah.
And still learning, obviously. Don't know everything, but
it can be a time suck too, right? When you don't have much time to spare.
Yeah.
Especially as you're growing. And are you finding it hard to find help?
No.
Volunteers?
No,
we're not volunteers, but workers and helpers?
We're fortunate. I feel like people have just come into our path at the right time, when we need extra help.
Yeah.
I've hired a couple people via inquiry or application, but most of the time people just kind of come in and say, I'm looking for this part-time work and do you have any? And yeah, we do.
That's great.
Yeah. So we have a young girl who's 19 working for us now, and she just said she knows my mom and dad, and I've known her family growing up, and she needed a part-time job this summer. And she said, I don't really care about decorating or doing anything like that. Like, I'll just work and do whatever you need me to do, which was perfect. Because we need you need people who can do, packing and unloading and loading and things like that, like the behind the scenes work that it takes to pull off all these events. Not everyone has to be creative.
Right.
That works for us.
Yeah.
So she's very organized. So she's our stockroom organizer this summer. I hope, she might end up going away to college in the next year or two, but for now it's great. Yeah. So she's really taking the lead on that.
I think you can remember when you're that age, it's hard to stay on track for.
Yeah, that's right. Well, and we had another girl too in 2019, same thing. She was a decorator though. She was really into styling and doing things, and she was fantastic at it. She was also really, really good at client communication. Mm-hmm. So I could trust her to be on site, and if anybody had questions or anything, she would be able to take the lead and answer it. I didn't always have to be there. So I really trusted her, but I knew she would fly. She was 21, 22 years old, and I'm like, she's not going to stay in this area. She's too cool. And sure enough, she
there's
before
a lot
COVID,
of cool people here. Come on.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. So I was like, she's got to go live her life and figure things out. Yeah, she did. She flew the coop.
Yeah.
But I'm happy for her. She's doing great.
Well, I think this is interesting because, and I see it with our business, with a lot of the clients we work with. Mm-hmm. And I kind of believe in yours, you're seeing it too. If you're the creator, so I'll use contractor because I grew up in a family of contractors, mm-hmm. right? And I look at my brother's business. He is the most talented guy on his crew. I mean, if there's something that needs to be built or designed, mm-hmm. he can do it. Mm-hmm. But if he spends all his time behind the computer designing, then who's out there?
Right.
He's taking his best asset, which is himself, mm-hmm. and putting him back in front of a computer, not doing. Mm-hmm. If he has to also spend time doing the books mm-hmm. and doing payroll and hiring and firing and all that stuff, you're just sucking. The bigger your business gets, mm-hmm. the more time you're sucking away from the stuff that you're really, really good at.
Yeah.
And so I think there has to be he's certainly figured it out, but it takes a while as a young entrepreneur mm-hmm. to figure out which way am I going here? You're kind of in that mm-hmm. why. And you either have to rely on him. I have some good financial backing, like a team mm-hmm. that I can go to and work on. And that's when you get with the accountants and the mm-hmm. financial people and all that stuff. Or if you're fortunate enough, depending on what your profession is, right, to find other creators that are similar at least to mm-hmm. you, which is
or see your vision at least.
Yeah, they'll do it in a different way, but it's still done really to your standard.
Yeah,
right? They're both hard paths to choose, right? But I think it's harder to find the creator, mm-hmm. which is I'm biased because I own a financial business. So like I
Yeah.
get hired to do the financial stuff, or
Yeah.
we do. But I think what you have is a really rare talent.
Yeah, thanks.
You know, as you can see by people, like they walk in your store and they're like, oh,
Yeah.
like, no, I mean, we have a good firm, and no one walks in our firm and goes,
Yeah.
what an amazing studio, Bob.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I can't take all the credit because we have a girl that's worked for us for 5 years now. Her name's Karen, and she, again, walked in off the street on one crazy week when we were packing for a big wedding, and she said, I'm new to the area and I'm just looking for a part-time job, and I don't really know exactly what you do, but it looks really cool on Facebook. So I was like, okay, this is good. Yeah. So she was like, I'm not really sure, but I will, I'm willing to work, and I like what I see. So I called her on my way home and was like, can you start on Saturday? And she just jumped in, and it was a crazy wedding weekend, and we were still new to the business, so things weren't as fine-tuned and organized as they are now, but she went along with it and hasn't left since. And she also is a creator and an artist, so she's the one that I can say, hey Karen, I have this idea, I think this would be really cool, can you make it happen? And she will.
Yeah.
So I'm so fortunate to have her.
You are, and congratulations to her and to you. But like that, especially running a small business, being on an island feels like you're on a desolate, lonely island. It's not just a nice little fun thing to visit. You're there all the time. Mm-hmm. Speaking of all the time, I noticed that on your website, your hours said open all the time, or
I think that's on Facebook.
Yeah. And so I think it's, the same. I'm assuming the number on there goes right to you.
Yeah.
No matter when somebody's texting or calling.
It does.
So you live your career.
So and I've made the mistake in the beginning just listening to the calls and the messages coming in at all hours. Because people have all hours.
Sure.
Some people work overnight.
Right.
So they get home from work and it's 6 a.m. and they're like, oh, I need to message Chippy to see if they're available, while I'm thinking about it. But I'm still in bed, So I understand all the messages coming in at different times. But lately, well, not lately, but the past 2 or 3 years, I've just gave myself business hours. Yeah. So you have to, right?
It's healthy.
Because you can't live that life.
Yeah.
Being at
most people don't figure that part out though.
It's really, really hard. I think that's one of the most difficult things. Mm-hmm. And because you want to take care of your customers, and you want to take care of people who are interested in using you, and you want them to know that you're available, but I'm not available at 10 o'clock at night, So, and
I think people understand that.
Oh yeah. But I, in the past, would answer because I just felt like that was the right thing to do, and it's not.
Yeah,
that's a hard.
And you're also probably thinking of the 15 things you have going on this week. And what if it's one of these people on What if there's 6 inches of water in the tent? And
right. It's you have to kind of be on call, but I think you just learn over time. I think it just takes time to know, and we also try to filter everything through one, a way of communication. So it's email. If you are interested, great. Here's a link. Email us. Here's our form. Fill out this form so we can get your information. We'll get back to you.
Yeah.
So rather than Facebook and Instagram.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Calling. Can track it that way.
Yeah. So that was hard in the beginning too.
What were some? Did you have some dark moments that you are willing to share? You don't have to, but
oh, that's okay.
I can. This isn't you interviewing me, but I can give you a list of some things where I thought, oh man, talk about imposter syndrome. I just don't know if it's going to work out the way I planned.
Yeah, no, I'm really fortunate that I think I was just born with a positive attitude. I don't know how.
You do have a nice
positive mindset. I had a really great upbringing and really supportive parents, and I'm never take that for granted. I think that has a lot to do with my whole positive vibe, I guess. But everybody has a dark.
Do you think that's part of the reason of success?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely. Because people latch on to good energy, just like people latch on to bad energy, right?
Yeah.
You can take a situation, and if it turns down a dark road, you can find a million more reasons to make it more darker.
Yes.
But if you turn down the light road, everything is just bright, and you're just working on making it better all the time. So
I agree with 100%. There was one of my friends in high school. His dad used to call me glowworm. I don't know if you remember glowworms.
Like the toy?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Little caterpillar toy thing.
I had one of those.
But they had this huge smile on their face. I guess I smiled all the time.
Oh,
so he's like, you're like a freaking glowworm. I'm like, a glowworm? When you're 17 or 16, that's kind of insulting.
Yeah, you're like, okay,
No,
thanks for comparing me to a children's toy.
But it's infectious,
It is infectious,
Yeah.
exactly. So that being said, I'm fortunate not to have too many dark times with, pertaining to the business. But I think the hardest for me was the end of 2021. So as you know, like all the 2020 events most of them were postponed. So some people chose to have backyard weddings and with 10 people or less or whatever whatever color we were in at that time, how many people we could gather with, right? So just every day it was changing. So we did make a backyard wedding package, like no contact, that we would drop off this setup and leave without you seeing us and spray it with sanitize. It was crazy, but we made do for 2020 and it was fine, made out okay. But most people did reschedule to 2021 and 2022. 2021, and you couldn't say no. I mean, we're all going through this together. So a lot of our weddings book a year and a half to a year out. So in 2019, we were already booking for 2021. We probably had 30 or 40 weddings in the books already for 2021 before COVID hit, right? So then 2020 comes and all those brides are like, we need to reschedule. This is the only date that our venue has open. Everyone's in panic mode, about rescheduling their event. So even if we already had 5 weddings, on a weekend in October and someone needed to reschedule theirs, okay, we have to do it. They already gave us a deposit. We can't say no. So I took on so much. So
I'm foolish. I'm thinking you're doing 1 wedding a weekend?
No, we can do like up to 8. Ish.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's wild. Yeah.
That's crazy.
I mean, I rent every single U-Haul that they have available over there.
Would you like to switch your water with coffee?
Yeah. I actually, one thing I did in 2020 was get off caffeine.
Is that right?
I don't need it. Right?
Yeah?
Like I'm like already like I'm a get up and get going type of person. I'm like, I don't need caffeine. It was making my head spin.
Well, I'm just, there's a lot of, there's pros and cons, but.
So yeah, anyway, so.
5 to 8, that's.
So so then 2021 came and it was kind of just nose to the grindstone. Let's just get through this year. We're going to do whatever we can. We called in help, our husbands helped. My dad helped again, called him out of retirement and whatever we could do to make it happen and pull off those weddings. And, because it's not just going and setting up the wedding, it's going back the following day and cleaning it all up.
Right.
So it's like
you're making the less sexy part.
Yeah. So it's like you need that cleanup crew and it was a lot. So by the end of the year, I was like, I don't know if I like this anymore. My body was tired. I'm a runner and I had given up running because I was just so tired and exhausted mentally and physically. And I was starting to lose parts of myself that I knew were good because I was giving everything that I had to do this. And it was no one's fault. Like it wasn't my fault for taking too much on. We kind of had no choice. It wasn't anybody's fault for rescheduling. It was COVID. So it was just this kind of thing that like I had to just get through. And I think I was just like, do I want to do this anymore at the end? And I never thought I would think that because I was so like, Chippy, everything's great all the time and we're always happy. But I was in a dark place and I remember setting up an event and just literally felt like I was just dragging myself through the mud.
Oh, that's horrible.
When you just get in that funk in your mind and your body is just like done and you're like, I can't load one more truck. I'm just going to collapse. So after our last event in December of 2021, I told Karen, our full-time girl, I said, we have to take a couple week break. I'll pay you, but like I need to just take a break and just like recuperate. So did that until like the beginning of March. Now we still worked, we still did things, but I just was like trying to like mentally get myself back in a good spot.
Restart.
Yeah. So then in March I was just like, I'm gonna start running again and getting myself back on track. And I mean, exercise, I'm such a advocate for exercising. I think it helps all areas of your life. So so started working out again and just made the turnaround. So feeling great now. Pulled myself out of it.
I think I saw you run through town once or twice.
Yeah.
So I forgot you were a runner. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you though. I was on the treadmill today.
Yeah.
I walked backwards. I'm a weirdo.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a friend of mine, a kid that went to school with my son, who's a wrestler, told me about.
Yeah.
His wrestling coach used to make him walk up like the Montage Mountain backwards.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh. So, yeah,
interesting. Yeah.
Because my knees hurt when I run the other way, but that's not, nobody cares about that.
We can talk about that later because I care about it. But
yeah, but I do feel like
people don't care about runner problems.
No, yeah. I guess the point is exercise. Like there are so many times I start exercising feeling whoa, and then I almost always finish feeling way better.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
It's something about the endorphins and all that.
Yeah. So I was thankfully just able to take a break and just pull myself out of it. And I feel great now. And I think I was just so tired. That's the only explanation I had, but I also believe that you need that balance in your life. Like I almost think that I was so tired that I was forced to just slow down and take a break because we had been going hard since we opened the business, like just nonstop. I'm like, that is what I just needed at that time, was to take a break and regroup mentally and physically. So
something as I'm listening to you, I'm feeling like, because I've gone through it with Stonehouse. We started, it was just me.
Yeah.
It wasn't Stonehouse, it was just Bob Brown.
Yeah.
And then, but eventually as we grew, now we're 20 some people.
Yeah.
We're doing finance, we're doing accounting.
It's amazing.
Doing Medicare. But there were points along that way, as every couple of years where you kind of have to reinvent yourself.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to step back, and whether you take a week or two off or you just schedule some time for some think time or whatever, to just kind of strategize and say, what can I be doing better? Mm-hmm. And typically, and I'm using ourselves as an example, but typically the hardest part about that is to say, if we continue to grow, I need more of me.
Yes, 100%.
But then to be successful and actually execute that expansion, you have to also be humble and say, I don't need two of me.
Yeah.
I need somebody that's similar to me. And I think the similar thing is that you share a vision, right? And it doesn't have to be like, oh, it's a vision, it's a pretty thing. Not that that's in your own.
Yeah, no, I know.
But I mean, whether you're building and expanding Chippy White Table so you can do 10 to 15 weddings in a weekend, or whether you're growing a financial firm, or whether you're doing something else, it's saying, I need somebody that knows what our goal is, what knows what our standards are, and our process, right?
Yeah.
And you have to have those things, and then getting that person and having them, skin in the game, having them understand, hey, if we meet this, then this happens, and it's good for all of us. And it's hard to find those people, but
it is.
They absolutely are out there.
They are.
And I think the cool part about you is you're very socially out there on Facebook and Instagram, so people can see that. Like, it's hard for financial firms to be like that, although we are trying with stuff like this.
Yeah, for sure.
But you have these people walk in your door and say, this is really cool.
Like, I want to be a part of this.
That's amazing. Yeah. Like, what store has that?
I know, it's cool. Like, there was a girl a woman that came to the sidewalk sale with her husband on Saturday, and her husband said, she just loves you guys. Everything you post, she's showing me at breakfast. What is Chippy White Table doing today? And she said, I will work for you. Anytime you need help, I will work for you. Just a stranger on the street, that's followed our journey. And I just thought that's cool, and just to attract that, I don't know, I want to be a part of this type of.
It's a Chippy vibe.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying about you need to just be fully yourself to be your best. And I think that's kind of what I learned the hard way last year. It's I need to focus on making sure I'm okay before I can make sure the business is 100%. So
perfect segue to my other question, which is, when it does get ugly, or difficult, I should say, right?
Yeah.
Who do you lean on? Who do you lean on?
Yeah, mostly my husband. Yeah, okay. So he's a great support, and he does help with the business when I ask him to, but I think that him not helping a lot helps him separate, from what's going on. So that way, when I do need to lean, he can be, I guess, objectively, he's supportive in a way because he's on the outside of it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, he's a great support. And also the girl Karen, who works for us, and she's always been my listening ear when I just need to vent, which is amazing, to be able to have an amazing employee, but also someone who will listen to you complain and understand.
So how many weddings did you do? Do you have scheduled for this year?
I haven't counted recently because we're still taking small local ones here and there, but probably about 80 or 90 is our average.
So I can't remember what year that was that we did the chamber Shark Tank version, right?
Yeah.
But what was it?
2016.
Okay, so what is that?
7. It'll be
7
years ago. Yeah.
And here we are, 6 years later, right?
Yeah.
7. And
16.
you're doing 80 weddings.
I know, it's wild.
And not to count all the ones you've done up to this point.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you think about when you're on that stage and you're trying to make mom and grandma proud,
yeah.
Do you think you succeeded?
I think so, yeah.
I think you
I
were
hope
past
so.
everybody's expectations.
Yeah, and I always tell people, I'm like, I could never plan this. I could have never planned this for my life. It just all happened.
Yeah.
And I really am just a believer in just letting things happen.
I'm not going to make you emotional, are you?
Yeah, I might. But
gosh, that's such a good story. It's an American story in my book. I mean, you went from, I don't know what I'm doing, to all of a sudden, oh, I kind of think I know what I'm doing, to now it's like, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But then every so often you're like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, it's never stops.
It never stops.
It's a healthy process.
It is. And you just kind of have to let things balance out. You know, things aren't always going to be smooth. They're always not going to be riding high, and they're not always going to be going low. So just kind of have to go with the ups and downs and the whole ride of it all.
So what's next? Are there any big things for CWT?
Right now, I hate to say no, because there's always something coming around the corner. But this year, my mindset is this is just let's refine ourselves this year. I kind of was at the end of my rope last year, and I just want to have a clean year of, tuning up the business a little bit, back end stuff. We're switching everything over to you guys, which I'm so excited about, the accounting and everything, and just having a smooth year without any major huge problem. Now, knock on wood, you never know what's going to happen, but just almost not a coaster year, but just a smooth sailing year.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're always thinking about the future. We would love to open another retail shop. We did open one last summer in our showroom location, but the logistics of using that space for so many different things, showroom, retail space, photo sessions, event space, that was just too many things in that one little spot. Yeah. So we would love to open a retail spot in town. So that's always, on the back burner, back of our brains. Yeah. To be doing that.
I think you always have to be thinking.
Yeah.
A year, 2. I'd say 1 to 5 years out. You always have to be thinking.
Yeah, but
if you think too far past 5 years, you just don't know what the heck's going on in a small business.
Yeah, it's true. And we would love to do something travel somewhere. So not necessarily bring our Chippy things to another location, but maybe do something in a different country or a faraway state where we could source different rentals or items and create an event somewhere else. Cool. Just to experience a different.
That's really cool. I forgot to have what do they call it when you renew your vows?
Yeah.
Maybe I should do that.
You should do that. Yeah. Go down to the Bahamas or something, and we can come down and set it all up. So something like that, in a fun location. I would love to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great excuse to get it. But would it feel like work or a vacation?
Well, that's the point, I guess. Yeah. So I never know. And also I said no to this answer in the beginning, but now I'm rambling all these things I want to do. But that's just the way my brain is. But I would also love to have a small event space somewhere near Tunkhannock with an indoor and outdoor area to use for small weddings. So I think after COVID, the micro wedding trend, which is 50 people or less for weddings and events, is becoming more popular. So I would love to just open a small venue for that amount of people.
Oh, that's pretty neat.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember how many people were at our wedding, but the one thing I remember I regret about my wedding is it went by that. Yeah. The reception.
Yeah.
I remember going into it thinking,
same.
I haven't seen half these people on the list, and I won't have time to talk to them, what am I going to talk to them about? And then I didn't have time to really talk to anybody, and it went just a blink of an eye.
I know. My wedding was over 200 people, and I had to call my mom when I was writing out the thank you cards afterwards and be like, was this person there?
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember seeing them, and I felt so bad about that, but you don't know. You don't know that when you're planning a big wedding.
No,
you don't realize that, then, I wouldn't change it for anything. But I think small weddings are on the rise for sure.
That's interesting. And having a good
more
venue
intimate,
would be fantastic, right? And then you could really a lump of clay that you could totally redo all the time.
Yep. And then we could just use our own rentals there every weekend. you know, we would just offer the full package.
Yeah.
So it's like you get the venue and you get the decorating all in one.
Well,
yeah.
There's going to be a lot of people seeing this, so maybe somebody's got that perfect
You
spot
never
out
know.
there.
I'm
Yeah.
always putting it out there, because you never know who's going to see what. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, expansion can be wonderful. It can be dangerous.
Yeah.
I think you're going to go about it the right way. You've got a great support behind you. If you could rewind to your 18, 20-year-old self, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody's watching this, guy or girl, they're coming out of school, out of college, out of high school, whatever, not sure where they're going. What do you think? Like, what should they kind of keep in the back of their mind? Like, I don't know. I just like advice for, like, one of the things I like about this podcast is it's about community leaders, and it's about folks that are doing stuff in nonprofits and for-profits.
Yeah.
But overall, people that are exceptional people, hidden in our backyard, right amongst us, that are not, up on a super high profile platform, but yet you're doing inspirational things, and you're kind of doing it by yourself with a small group of friends and family that are supporting you. So like, what kind of advice do you have? I'm calling you out on the spot.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. I think my advice is to just follow your path, follow the path that's in front of you, and just like keep working hard. Just like keep working hard, but like prioritize yourself, and like your own like well-being, because if you don't have yourself and you're not taking care of yourself, like you can't really succeed fully at anything else.
Right.
So, but yeah, just follow the path that's there, because it is there. Like everybody has a path. It's there if you just like let it happen. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. If that makes sense.
No, it's great. I was going to add on to it, but I think as you filled in all the gaps, I'm like, I think she nailed it. I don't.
Oh, good.
I would love to say I'd give the same advice, but I don't think I do as eloquently as
you. I'm glad it came out okay.
So we were kind of wondering what we talked about for an hour, and I think we talked about more, and there's still a bunch more I'd love to.
That felt like 5 minutes.
I know.
It's crazy.
See, it's like a wedding reception.
I know, right? It goes by in a blink of an eye.
Except it's just not, I have an empty
Except
table.
there's nothing pretty on this table. Next time, if there is a next time, I'm bringing decoration. That's what I should have done. I should have chippified, but I didn't know what to expect.
We could do that, and you're welcome to come in here and some sort of crazy lights or whatever. I thought I was doing all right, but as usual, every time I do it at home, my wife's like, "Oh, honey, there's so much more you could do."
Yeah.
Well, this has been a blast. I expected it would be. I think shout out to Ben Robinson, who told us we should get together and have this conversation.
Yeah.
And Chippy White Table, right in Tunkhannock, PA, and your website is
chippywhitetable.com.
That's pretty much
Instagram's Chippy White Table, as well as Facebook, and Pinterest also.
And you are all Chippy Chicks.
We are Chippy Chicks. We have Chippy Dudes now this year. We've hired a couple dudes. Yeah.
Do they like being called Chippy Dudes?
Yeah, I think they put up with it. So.
Yeah, they have to. It's part of the
Yep.
Yeah.
So.
It's fantastic. It's an amazing business, and
Thank
what you've done with it. Literally seeing you from on stage doing the presentation to where we are today.
Come full circle, right?
I'm excited to think where you'd be in 10 years from now. So I'd love to sit down and have this conversation again, even 5 years from now.
Yeah, let's do it.
See where you are.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.